Hi everybody, it is MA. Long time no video, etc. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first decks and pairs I've been using the most in June and July, and then a pile of new or new to me decks, then what I impulsively tossed in my basket to shift over to for August. And then if you want to stay to the end, a pile of books. So I'll preface this with two things. One, I've been quiet here for many reasons. I haven't had a space to record, but also, a lot of the conversations about, and I'll just name names, right? Go watch Kellyanne Maddox's reels about the Goliath Tarot and the Goliath creator specifically, and the transphobia, and then some of the very other thoughtful and heartfelt videos I saw from Sylvan, from Laura at Aquamarine 18, and from Marlena. It's really got me questioning and being more suspicious about who I want to interact with, who I want to hear spiritual advice and notes from, and who I want to, blast out personal information to. And, that's my own quest. All should do with it as you will. But that's kind of held me back. I also haven't had a place to record at all. So then the second thing is, once again, and this was the fourth time, I have gone up to the Omega Tarot Week, and this year I tacked on the Masters of Tarot weekend at Omega in Rhinebeck, New York. And really, if anyone has ever considered going and has questions or not sure they'd fit in or not sure if it's for them, please reach out to me. Please send me a note. It's really, it was fabulous. A very thoughtful group of people. In the 5-day session, we have 24 hours of class time and lots of interactive, chatty, friendly time in between. And then the weekend session was another 13 hours of classwork. And this year the weekend had a theme, which it usually doesn't. The theme was about magic, which some people signed up for and then were shocked. And some people signed up for intentionally, but I loved all the sessions. And nothing, what beats eating breakfast with Mary Greer? Come on. Okay, so what should I start with? I'll just show you the decks that I used the most over the last couple of months. We'll start with that. So for my daily draws in June, I was using the Radiant Tarot. Simon just did a video, Simon at the Hermit's Cave just did a video about kind of underappreciated decks, and this was the first one he showed, and I couldn't agree more. I use this deck a lot. I love it. For single card draws, this was interesting because a lot of them are what we might consider pippish, and I believe I mentioned before is the group I'm in has us do a tarot, like I want to say like light cord journaling, but as a case study where I'm bringing the same question to the single card pull every morning. And I was really able to extract a lot of new correspondences and information with respect to, it wasn't anything too super personal, but it was about my creative work and what is this card's message to my creative practice, how is it an ally in that practice, and how is it a nemesis. So I was looking for the light and shadow of both cards. And I was using this in June, and July came, but I didn't want to put it away, so I didn't. So I kept using this pretty much until the beginning of last week and really enjoyed it. I don't have the box anymore, but it's the Radiant Tarot. So I did enjoy that very much. So the decks that I usually bring with me to Omega, the first one I always bring is my Universal Weight, which is now, I consider this a very bonded and magical deck for me. I've got little talismans in the pouch from other events that I've gone to there. So this is the deck. It's all grimy now, which I love. This is the deck where I trimmed off the borders and titles, and it's whenever it makes sense to use a Smith weight. This is the one I use. It's not my most beautiful copy. It's not the most true coloration, but you know what? I just love it. And without fail, people will ask me, what deck is it? And I'm like, it's just the US Games universal, universal weight. So that always comes with me. And yeah, I love using that. The other deck I brought, not surprisingly, as Rachel Pollack was one of the founders of teaching in this place, is I brought the Shining Tribe with me. And I actually, for the first time, I actually used it. And, well, let me show you some cards if you don't know the deck. I trimmed the top and side borders off very recently. And what I'm enjoying about that is how the landscapes and the colors now kind of bleed together without the white edges. And it's reading for me a lot better. I was sitting next to Zoe, Rachel's wife, and I pulled out this deck to use, and I had a moment of fear where I was like, oh no, I hope nobody's going to be upset that I cut the deck. And you know, the information was that Rachel had intended this reissue to be borderless, and when the deck was released after her passing and it had the white borders, you know, that people were a little upset. So if you're going to trim it, please trim it. And that's what it looks like. And I have been meeting with the Shining Tribe Exploratorium, which you can find on Substack, and Carolyn Cushing, who's been kind of carrying on the teaching of this deck, and some others, some of whom you might know from YouTube, are engaged in that monthly practice group. And what has helped me a lot is to release my initial impulse with these cards, trying to be, what did Rachel mean? What is this card? And just kind of go do a first intuitive hit with the reading, and then move on to the guidebook, which is a rich, deep well of other associations. But I've been having a much better relationship with this deck since I have learned that it's okay to do that, or, you know, I feel like I now have permission to use it that way. So I've been using it more. And another deck I've been using, and I did also bring to Omega, was the Sasaburito Tiny Traveler Edition, which I just want to shuffle, because whenever I touch it, I just want to shuffle it, because it shuffles so nicely. I did also get the Yukika Tarot. I think I showed that. But this one, I think because the images are a little sparer and sharper, and it definitely does not lose any clarity in this smaller version. It's a really great reader for me, and I used it in reading for other people, and especially in readings for other people where they were going to be engaging with the images on the cards, and the reactions and the reception to it was really wonderful. So yeah, I enjoyed having that with me over the last, I think I started using it in June and July. So I'm gonna put it away for a little while to rest. Then another pair that I used quite a bit at home was the Numinous Tarot, which I bought this years ago. I was really just starting, and it was a little too much for me to manage the card renamings, the associations. You know, it was a struggle. But I loved how colorful it was. I really liked the art. I liked the representation. I liked, you know, the gender foolery. I mean fool as in, like, you know, tarot fool, like in a good way. And yeah, and over time, I've really been able to start reading with it more, and I love reading with it. And I love it with Cedar's Threadbound Oracle. Just fabulous together. Colorful, summery, but also gives me wonderful readings. So I have definitely been playing with those two a lot, and just as of yesterday decided it's time to give somebody else a chance, because the other decks are calling. The other decks are calling. So the next pair that I used a lot is going to take me into one of my newer decks. So I did get the Oracle of the Divine from Yoshi Yoshitani, who also created the Tarot of the Divine. A deck which I thought of deaccessioning but ended up keeping because when I'm called to use it, it works wonderfully for me. I adore the card backs. And, you know, there are stories. There's kind of a system to the deck with, you know, how these little sets of 5 or 6 cards relate to a certain myth. But I think it's fine not to concern yourself with that, or at least for me it was, and just go with the image and the keyword. And the deck that I was pairing it with so much, and this is a deck I also brought to Omega, and a lot of people hadn't seen it, is the Game Marseille, Charlie Claire Burgess's deck. And I was using this a lot in June and July. And this was a great pair. Yeah, this was a great pair, and enjoyed working with those together. And again, just had to come back and say, I'm going to put the Game Marseille away for a while now. Maybe it's the backs, but this always feels like a very summery deck to me. So I'm going to put that one away. Woohoo. Okay, so this Oracle of the Divine was, you know, it's a newish mass market deck that I picked up probably at maybe the end of June, the end of July. Okay. Now I have a couple of decks that came to me through trades or people selling and swapping used decks within like a circle of people I'm in study groups with. Oh man, it's getting hot. It's very humid. Okay, so this first deck is a little oddity. It came wrapped in paper with a tag, but no box or anything else. And it is the Victorian Trade Card Tarot. It's made up of images from vintage advertisements. And it's just a funny little deck. This is the Devil card. It's an old shoe advertisement, Judgment, 7 of Wands, and it's wacky. I mean, it's definitely a bit of a novelty deck. Some of the resolution on some of the images isn't the greatest. I bought it from someone who had multiple copies for like a pittance of a price. I think there were only 100 copies made. It was someone she knew from the Reader Studio. So this is a fun thing to play with. But you know, I guess the moral of the story is like these little oddball decks nobody knows about are out there. So you never know when one is gonna head your way. The 9 of Cups. So I don't know. I thought that was just super fun and kind of lighthearted. But when I started laying out 3 cards at a time, it was working. It was working for little 3-card spreads. So that was kind of wacky. Then the next one, I kind of put, again, that's someone who was selling it because they don't use it. This is the Adapt Tarot, which has tiny print on the back that I can't read. I don't know who made it. They seem to still have an Etsy shop. And it's a collage deck. I'm on the fence about this one, but again, they were selling it. I was like, yeah, I'll take it off your hands. It's got very busy borders, and then the images in the center are on the smaller side. So I have done a couple small, like 3-card readings with it. It's okay. I'm considering, you know, because it's an indie deck and I don't know if it's something that's out of print, am I going to cut the borders off or not? I think is the big question. But it's an interesting, yet another collage deck that I have never heard of. Okay. Then I have one deck that came to me as a trade. And you're gonna, okay, so this is the Matronua Tarot. I had a pretty desirable out-of-print deck that I just wasn't using. I had opened it. I don't keep sealed copies. I wasn't using it because it really didn't read for me. And someone I knew was really, you know, looking for a copy, and then they had this one. They had 2 copies of this they were looking to sell, and so we worked out a trade. And I might have shuffled, I don't remember. This is the first edition. It is gorgeous. I mean, the paper itself is so tactile. I feel like this is something I can read with. as opposed to the other deck, which just didn't work for me. But it's really attractive. I think it's very interesting that it's like a more modern drawing, but still in that old world. So yeah, just like beautiful production, beautiful texture, and yeah, I plan to read with it. I'm not sure in what context yet, but it's something I can definitely work with. So I feel pretty lucky to get my hands on this, and it was reciprocal, right? That just happened to work out quite nicely. Okay. Now on to a deck I bought. I did get the Dark Daughter Tarot, and I was on the fence. Am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it? And ultimately, you know, I love her work so much that it was a yes. Ellen was scheduled to be at Omega and unfortunately was involved in an accident that caused her some injury, which she's recovering from. Nothing, you know, terrible, but meant she couldn't get on the plane to come. So we were working with this deck collectively anyway, and I decided to get a copy. I think, and other people have walkthroughs, pardon me, that's why I don't do them. I think Simon did a walkthrough this a long time ago when it first came out, and I'm sure others have. This one does seem a little more aligned with some of them to like a Smith-Waite depiction on some of the minors, rather than just, you know, an image of the relative goddess, as opposed to the Dark Goddess, where a lot of the what do we call them, the personas or the deities are going to be familiar. I went through this whole deck. I think I only knew like 4 of them. So the book is really interesting. And I think the only thing, if I could change one thing, the guidebook is black paper with white print. And as far as those things go, this isn't the most illegible, but it's a little, it's challenging. I have older eyes and I need really good light to read this, and I don't think it's very accessible. So who's the publisher? Might be Rockpool or Schiffer. Yeah, please do better. I mean, I'll probably send them a note. It's not the greatest choice. I understand that's an aesthetic. Oh, it's the Dark Daughter, we're going to use dark paper, but don't. You know, show, don't tell, let the deck do the work. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. I'm mostly doing like smaller single card pulls with it. And yeah, very interesting. Okay, then the last new to me deck is a Kickstarter that just came in. This is the 2nd edition of the Tarot of Her. And I think the reason I got it, okay, so I don't know if anybody's done walkthroughs yet. These just came in. I'm not going to do a walkthrough because I've already shuffled it. Lovely magnetic box, beautiful interior, the lift ribbon, kind of a velvety space to cradle. So it's in a nice production. It's a round deck. Look at these. I think these decks are wonderful. The backs are beautiful, the sparkly stars. It looks like it's got like a kind of a dull silver edging, but it's not the kind that cuts your fingers. Because it's circular, it comes with this optional card of how to read the cards. If when you deal them out, they come up in certain directions. I will probably completely disregard that. So it's kind of a watercolor. It is a watercolor deck. I've been using it starting, I got this Monday. So this is now what I'm using for my daily morning single card draws, and just kind of diving into the image and seeing what it calls up, seeing how it relates to the meanings that I currently carry for the cards. And the reason I got it, do I love round decks? I don't know. I have some round oracles that I really like, but you know, I've thought about picking up a vintage Daughter of the Moon tarot and just didn't feel like going down that rabbit hole. I was never really attracted to the mother piece, and I think the Shining Tribe fills that stylist drawing style for me. And yeah, this one just seemed like it might be more up my alley and something to try out. And so far, I'm pleased with the single card readings. I'm not sure how it will work out in other ways, but I think, you know, with our decks, that's one of the things we need to sort, right? Okay, now I have this deck. A, can I read it? B, what am I going to use it for, etc. So yeah, and those are my new and new to me decks. Then here's the random-ish, random-ish pile I pulled out into a basket. Some of these, so this one, the Visionary Woman Tarot, I got last year, and I used it in the summer, and then I put it away. So I'm also trying to pull out decks I haven't used in a while. I think last year, I'm not worried about Oracle pairings yet. I'm decided for August, I'm just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I did use this with the Threadbound Oracle last year, and it worked really nicely. So yeah, I'm just feeling this kind of Leo energy, moving away a little bit from the bright colors of July and maybe into things with a little more of that kind of smoldering intensity. I am a Leo who doesn't really always feel like a Leo or present like a Leo. And so I guess I'm kind of leaning into that. Maybe that Ace of Wands is going to visit me a few times this month. So that's the first thing I pulled out to work with this month. Visionary Woman Tarot by Christine Gorman, who somehow I still haven't managed to come across lately in person, even though is kind of local to me. Then this deck, which I got in maybe the end of May or sometime in May, and I kind of put it aside and said this was my birthday deck, is the Queer Crow Death Magic Tarot. I think I got the digital guidebook rather than the printout. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading with this. I have not really done so yet. I think from laying cards out, the one comment I have is I think I would have liked it if the suits were color-coded, like if all the cups were in this color scheme and all the wands were in this color scheme, and we don't really get that, I don't think. But I do love these cards, this High Priestess, Queen of Swords. I am very much drawn to cards that are a little sharper to the eye, I think, for certain kinds of readings. Or who am I kidding? I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. Anyway, and again, the Ace of Wands. Here we go. More Ace of Wands. Looking forward to using this and getting to know it better. This might be a long video, so whenever you lose, whoops, there they go. Whenever you lose interest, feel free to change the channel. Another one I pulled out is the poker size of the Asherah Tarot that I think came from Drive-Through Cards is where I got this. And you know, I love, this is like linen cardstock, a small size deck, another one that does the shuffle for me really nicely. The color saturation is wonderful. And you know, now that I've played with Thoth decks a little more, I'm curious to come back to this one and see how it does for me. But again, the visuals on this one just really, I got this deck years ago before I even had a clue of what to do with it. And Ace of Wands, we'll stop there. So that's the Asherah Tarot. I'm not sure if this is still available on Drive-Through Cards or not. I saw one trying to sell a full size on eBay for a stupid amount of money, so I don't know. This is a Make Playing Cards Thoth Greeny small size reproduction. If I can remember who made it. I think it's Anna. I don't remember. So yeah, I pulled this one out in case I want to do standard Thoth a couple of times. Again, still trying to sort out what's the difference between reading with a Thoth deck and reading with a pip deck. It's still the court cards that throw me for a loop with Thoth. So still working on it. And that's okay because that's what we do. So that's a Thoth Greenie, small size, reproduction, linen cardstock, a little bit slippery as we can see as they fall all over. Shall I give it a shuffle? Let's give it a shuffle. Greenie, reproduction. Doesn't bridge as well, but it's a good shuffle. Thoth Greenie, reproduction by someone whose name I forgot. And, you know, here's something else I pulled out because I haven't touched it in a while. And again, it's that kind of smoldering Leo energy, that hot, you know, the heat of summer, plus the kind of a little bit of the darkness of it, is the Marielle, which I probably pull out about once a year. And when it calls my name, it calls my name. And this is when it called my name this year. A lot of my decks are not seasonal. They're mood based. Knight of Wands, Chariot. And this is one where, you know, my relationship with the guidebook, like sometimes I don't use it at all. Sometimes I really want to read the entries for every card. So it just depends. So yeah, so I pulled out the Marielle, which randomly gets stored in some kind of jewelry bag because at one point a coworker of mine was bringing me all her spare little mini canvas bags. I pulled out a couple of oracles. The Energy Archaeology Oracle by creator name. I can't read the text, so I can't tell you. This was an Etsy deck. I think there's something going on with a new edition, so I'm not really sure. It might be coming back under another name. Whoops. The guidebook for this is really interesting. It does work with body. If you haven't seen this, each card relates to a bone in the body and has a keyword, and then the guidebook has a lot of exercises and questions to go along with it if you choose to do that. Otherwise, I think sometimes these images tend to have synchronicities with a lot of decks that I use, and it's really interesting to see how that happens. And it's just, otherwise you can just use it as an oracle with a keyword and see where that takes the reading, which is something I like to do. Okay, one more. Oh, this is a deck that I pulled out again, just in case, and it was calling me, is the Crow Tarot. Maybe because I had the other Death Crow Tarot out, which by the way doesn't really have crows in it, so that's kind of funny. This one has lots of crows. So yeah, this is one I like to use from time to time. I think we all know this deck. So yeah, Crow Tarot is in the basket for August until whenever. And that's it for the decks in the pile at the moment. I have a book haul. When on the Omega campus there is a bookstore. I consider that an independent bookstore, and I'm happy to patronize them. So a lot of times if I have books on my list, I will kind of wait and buy a bunch of them there when I'm there for the summer, because why not? And I think some of these came from them and some of these came from other sources. Okay. Some are tarot books, some are not. I don't even remember what's in the pile. Okay, the first one I picked up is Real Change by Sharon Salzberg. That's someone whose meditations and talks I've enjoyed for a long time, but I've never sat down and read one of her books. So I thought I would give that a shot. There we go. The next book is actually a poetry book, but I'll show you anyway. It wasn't meant to be in the pile. It's You Must Revise Your Life. I guess that goes pretty well with Real Change. This is by the poet William Stafford. And it's partly it's his poems, partly it's some of his essays. Very interesting person. He was, I believe, a conscientious objector for World War II, and ended up instead working for the Park Service. Just a very thoughtful, interesting writer. He's, passed away quite a while ago, but so I'm reading that for myself and with a book group. And this is one of those things where stuff that isn't tarot sometimes feeds a lot of, what do we even call it? It feeds into the way we read because it feeds into our personness. Then something I might have already showed, but I did start looking at the Tarot Tableau Revolution, which is making the rounds. I think people are pretty familiar with. This is about using like a nine card layout and layered readings using all different correspondences from the cards. Really interesting, enjoying that. This was a little bit of a left field pick for me, but my sister I know has very much an admirer of Damien Eccles, who, this is someone, if you don't know him, was accused or convicted of a murder he didn't commit and was on death row for a while. And this is about high magic, which is not something I'm very familiar or a practitioner of, but I thought he would be a good person to hear perspectives on this from someone who's not, let's say, Aleister Crowley. In other words, so I thought that would be a really interesting read. And once again, happy to support an independent bookstore. Then through a divinatory and occult poetics group I'm in, this title came to my attention, The Witch Studies Reader. This is probably a more academic book. It's a lot of essays by a lot of people. And I can't even completely tell you yet what it comprises of. I just know it's come up in conversation a lot, and I was interested to, whether I'll read it cover to cover or kind of parse through it. There's editors, The Witch Studies Reader. It's from Duke University Press. Apologies, I think I'm not holding these completely in view. The other book that's not, it's strictly a tarot book is Queer Devotion by Charlie Claire Burgess. I was aware of this book and kind of had it on my back burner wish list. Then one of the presenters at Omega was reading us some sections from it, and so it fell into my suitcase to come home. I can't report on it yet, but the focus is spirituality behind the binary and myth, story, and practice. I see that there's chapters on Venus, on Joan of Arc, under Sir Gawain from, the King Arthur legends. And I'm just really interested in reading this. Then the next one is the reissue of Richard Pollock's Tarot, The Open Labyrinth. If I understand, this book is more of a case study of like a very in-depth reading. And that's how that's what I'm expecting. So we'll see. Again, have not read it, have not even cracked these open yet. So picked that one up. I believe this is making the rounds. Again, have not cracked it open yet. Tarot and the Psychology of the Soul, exploring the archetypal mirrors of the psyche. So yes, very much I'm interested in reading more about archetypes. I'm assuming there's some Jungian stuff here. And that, again, another book fell in my suitcase. And then the last one is Shannon Knight's Dark Shadow, Golden Shadow, Magical Tools and Tarot to Confront Your Fears and Free Your Potential. Again, I know I'm a broken record if anyone still remembers what that means, of how much I enjoy Shannon's podcast, The Tarot Diagnosis, and have been working with the Wheel of Fortune, a year with the Wheel of Fortune workbook, where it's like a reading a day or a question a day for the year, and I'm still at it. So this is a book on shadow work, both light and dark shadows. So tell me when I'm going to read all these. I don't know. Oh, I don't think I told you, but I will be retired in December, so I guess that's when I'm going to read all these books. Whew. Okay, I talked really fast. I'm sorry. but I'm also not sorry. I hope you're all doing okay, man. It's rough out there. I know, the world has literally been on fire. I hope all these, the fires, the air quality, then this week, not, only like an hour plus north of me, the terrible floods that happened in mid New York as well as other places. So please be careful out there. Be kind to yourself and to other people, and see you soon.